I'm standing in the room where I sat Shiva for my father a few years ago. And during the Shiva, it was incredible as people came in who I had never met and told stories about my father and what he had done during his life. Honestly, I did not know my father. He was a person that never spoke about himself. During the war years, he and his brothers and his cousins were involved with saving Yidden. Last week in Mishpacha magazine, I read a story about Rabbi Yidla of Zidichov, who went through Arad and was saved by the Yidden there. That was my father and his family. After the war, he was in Eretz Yisrael, fighting for this land. In England, he was involved in chesed behind the scenes. In this room, I heard so many beautiful things about the deeds of my father. It was inspiring, and people left inspired. When the Shiva was over, I brought my children and my grandchildren, I brought them around exactly where I'm standing right now. And I said to them the following words. So my dear family, everyone is so inspired by Saba, by Abba, and they go on with their lives. But who will really remember our father, our grandfather? Only the children. That's all that really, really carries the legacy of a great man. And I thought about this and said, yeah, we're going to be naming our children after him. We're going to be talking about his stories for days. At the end of the day, it is the family, it is the father and the children, the mother and the children. That is the connection that always stays. And I always like to say over the following thing. No matter how much you achieve in your life, if you don't get your marriage right and if you don't get your kids right, then nothing else really matters. You have to put your marriage and then put your children as the central focus of everything. And from that, you build your life. From that, everything else flows. So what can we do to become better parents? The very first thing to realize is that chinuch begins in the home. I'm standing over here in my home. As I walk into my home, I kiss the mezuzah, and I'd like to quote to you what the Rambam says about that mezuzah. And I quote, this is the Rambam in Hilchos Mezuzah, Perek Vav, Halacha Yud Gimel, V'kol zman sheyichnas v'yetze. So it's not just when you leave the home, when you come into your home, v'yifga b'yichad Hashem, and you encounter the yichud, the unity of Hashem's name, meaning the Shema at the mezuzah, Shmoish LaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'yizka ahavasai, v'yar mishnasa. You wake up from your slumber when you think about Hashem's tremendous love. You're in your Jewish home. And then the Rambam says, v'yizka ahavasai, v'yar mishnasa, v'shkiyosa v'hevle hazman. And you remind yourself, do not make the mistake of being sucked up into the vanities of time. Says my Rebbe, Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal, there's only one other place where the Rambam warns us, do not get sucked into the Hevle Hazman, the vanities of time. And that is when he talks about Ki Shofar. When you hear the shofar and the shofar blast wakes you up, it's a wake-up call. Uru mishnachem, says the Rambam. You wake up from your slumber, and you do not allow yourself to get sucked in to Hevle Hazman. Says my Rebbe, these two things, every moment when you walk into your Jewish home, and every Rosh Hashanah when you're about to make changes for the whole year, those are the moments that you must wake up to the importance and gravity of what you're doing. You walk into your home, this is the place where you build your family. You walk into your home, this is the place where everything happens. Once a year, we take it to a different level. Hashem gave us a festival called Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the last festival that is supposed to carry us through the dark galus. Where do we do the mitzvah of Hanukkah? Once again, at the entrance to the Jewish home, because that is the place that will be under attack during galus, especially as we get to the climax of galus. And there I stand, but this time I'm facing my door. I had the mezuzah to the right. I have the menorah that I'm about to light to my left. I had my beautiful, beautiful family, my children, my grandchildren in front of me. And I look at the mezuzah and I say, this is my Yiddish home. I look at my beautiful family, and then I look at what I'm about to light, and I remind myself that there are things in life that are worth fighting for. When it comes to your children, these are things that are worth fighting for. And if you don't have something that you're prepared to give up your life for, you're not really living for something. That's the Yiddish home. That's the place where we raise our children. So I want to share with you a chiddush that is normally overlooked about chinuch yeladim, which I believe is the centerpiece of everything. I ask you, what can we do to be better parents? You take the classes on parenting, and Baruch Hashem, I'm zocheh to have my own classes. I call it the ABC of parenting: attention, boundaries, consistency. This is how we raise our kids. But there's also the letter D, and I want to show you something that is so important by giving you a mashal from Shidduchim. You ask someone, where's the first time we see the Parsha Shidduchim? Everyone knows Eliezer, Eved Avram, goes to find a zivuk for Yitzchak. Parshas Chayesara. And there we learn how to find a shidduch. And everyone learns it in great detail, but we forget the ikar. Who is Rivka marrying? Marrying Yitzchak. What did Yitzchak do to earn such an incredible zivuk like Yitzchak? And the answer is, Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basada. He went out to the field, meaning the makom of the future Beis Hamikdash, the place where he had his Akedah. And there he davens and he unleashes the power of mincha. And through that, when he takes his 3 steps back, he turns around. I'm zeicha to this incredible woman, Rivka Imenu. He did it through the koyach of tefillah. It's not the pshat that tefillah is also hishtadlus. Tefillah is the centerpiece of the hishtadlus. That is the hishtadlus for marriage, and that is the number one hishtadlus for raising your kids as well. It's all about the davening. It's all about the tears. The Shinover Rebbe, the Heilige Tzaddik, the son of the Divrei Chaim, the Rebbe of Misams, asked the Chassid Sofer, how did you do it? How were you zoicha that child after child came out to perfection? How were you zoicha to raise a Ksav Sofer? The Chassid Sofer said that every time I finish davening, there's a little puddle of tears under my feet. The Chassid Sofer would stand completely still with his talus over his head. And when he walked back, there was the tears that he had cried for his children. That was the secret ingredient of how the Chassid Sofer earned such incredible children. It's all about the power of tefillah. And I want to share with you that I'm zocheh to have in front of me, not that I self-promote, a sefer called Rigshei Lev, Hilchos Tefillah for women, Hashkafa of Tefillah for women. Anyone that ever read an article Siddur, so the psakim over there are basically based on this sefer. And chapter 10 is called Children. It is possible that this is the most important chapter of all, because there I write the following words, and people do not know this. This is not just a good thing to do. I start off by saying the Mishnah Berurah paskins the halacha, and I quote, the Talmud, this is the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Mem Zayin Halacha Yud. The Talmud Tiyeh Tfilas Ha'av Va'aim Shgur B'Piem. Constantly, without a break, parents, a mother and a father should be constantly davening for their children, Yispala al B'neihem. This is not just an eitzah, advice, it is a halacha in the Mishnah Berurah to constantly be davening for your children. Moyer Rebbe Shlomo Valboga Zatzal told us that if he was zeicha to have achieved anything in his life, and boy did Rav Wolbe achieve a lot with his life, it's only because my mother used to daven for me up to 10 times a day. In Germany, back in those days, his heilige mother would daven for her shleimula 10 times a day, and look what she was zocha to. So what does this mean for us? What does it mean to constantly daven for your children? So first of all, first and foremost, I want to strongly recommend that every single listener should start off with the tefillah of the Chazon Ish. I think it's the greatest tefillah of all that we should add into our Shemona Esrei and Shema Kolenu. I have over here a little fridge version. You hear us l'fenecha sheterachem, and you list your children. Tahafachis levavam le'aval yerushamecha l'shgoi b'serasecha kadesha. And then I believe that the next words in the tefillah of the Chazon Ish are the most crucial tefillahs for our generation. V'sasi milfanav kol hasibos hamoinis oisei mishkedesh terasecha kadesha. Remove all the pitfalls that stand in front of your children, that deny them closeness to your holy Torah. Remove those pitfalls. My dear friends, today we live in a world where the pitfalls are infinite. Once upon a time, the Yiddish home had walls. These walls of my home, which I built my family, once upon a time, these walls would protect us from everything that went out in the Goyish Gas, in the non-Jewish street, so we could nurture our children from within. These walls cannot protect anymore. The Kloisenberger Rebbe, a generation ago, spoke about radio waves. He says, we don't know how radio waves bring tumor into our homes without even realizing it. Oh my gosh, what would it be if the Kloisenberger Rebbe, Zatzal, would have been during the time of Wi-Fi? What would he have said about the tumor that filters into our homes? We have to fight it, b'kol levavenu, b'kol nafshenu, b'kol ma'idenu, in every single character that we can. And the centerpiece is to daven HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the Chazon Ish. B'sasel, remove every michshol, every possible stumbling block. Who speaks to your children? What do your children see? Kadosh Baruch Hu, this is in your hands. That it can be only things that are good, only things that are nurturing, only things that are building. The Mishnah Berurah himself gives 3 examples in davening where we can daven for our children. First and foremost in Birkas HaTorah. But notice which part of Birkas HaTorah. V'harev na Hashem Elokeinu es divrei torasecha b'finu. V'fi amcha b'Yisrael, v'tzetzeinu amcha b'Yisrael. V'harev na Hashem Elokeinu. Make the Torah sweet in the taste of our children. Torah has to be sweet in the taste of our children, not just the study of Torah, but the lifestyle of Torah. And through that sweetness, they'll want to keep everything. They'll want to protect themselves. The first and foremost place is in Birkas HaTorah with the word v'tzetzeinu, ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Torah and the life of Torah that comes with it should be sweet in their mouths. The second place he mentions, Ahava Rabbah. Like, wow, duh, obviously Ahava Rabbah. Once again, Torah should come with Ahava. Torah should come with love. And when you daven for yourself to be zeicha to Torah, you have kavanah for your children and your grandchildren as well. The Mishnah Berurah brings a third example in davening that very much gets overlooked. And that is in the Valatzion that we say after our davening. And we say the following words, Baruch Hu Elokeinu shebaranu lichvaydai v'hivdilanu min atayim v'nasan lanu teras emes v'chaya oilam nata b'serchenu. We live in a world where everyone lives the wrong life. But Kadosh Baruch Hu planted into ourselves a Torah life. And then we go on to say, why should HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us all this protection? We should not give birth to children that is bahala, that live useless lives. This is it. This is the climax after davening, where we bring everything down. Everything should come into our homes. Our children should live those lives that are real lives and not live lives that are bahala, filled with wasted moments, filled with impure moments. Now, we all know that the centerpiece of our davening, be'etzem, is the Shemona Esrei. I want you to know that for years I had this question: how can it be that nowhere in the Shemona Esrei did our Chazal, did our rabbis create a tefilla for our children? It makes no sense. And the answer is that they did place it into their davening, because we don't need to daven for the air that we breathe, and we don't need to daven that our children should flourish like we're asking for ourselves, because that is the etzem air that we breathe. The essential air that we breathe is getting our kids right. It's essential throughout everything. Now, in case that's not good enough for you, the Holy Sfarim bring down examples where if you look carefully into our davening, our children are mentioned as well. First and foremost, the Heilige Belzer Rebbe Zatzal said, when we say in Moedim, Ladar Vadar, Noid Lecha Nesapetil Asecha. So Ladar Vadar belongs to the previous sentence. Says the Belzer Rebbe, no, you should read it the following way. Ladar Vadar Noid Lecha Nesapetil Asecha. From generation to generation, we should give thanks to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Heilige Eibishter, dear God, if I bring children into this world, there is no greater purpose to bring children to this world than that they should be able to praise you. They should bring out Hidah to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and teach the whole world your beautiful ways. The son of the Bnei Yissaschar, Reb David Medinov, shows another place in the Shemona Esrei where we needed to daven for our children. And that is the bracha Re'ena v'anyenu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look at our afflictions. This is the bracha that talks about social stress, the anxieties that we go through, especially before Mashiach comes. Because the bracha ends with Baruch Atah Hashem Goy El Yisrael. You are in the process of bringing Mashiach. And before Mashiach comes, there's going to be so much social stress. Says the Heilige Reb David Medinov, Re'ena v'anyenu. What is v'anyenu referring to? I know that phrase from Seder at night. V'anyenu is our children. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, watch over our children. Make sure they succeed, make sure they flourish, make sure they're successful. One last example in the Shemona Esrei where we should be davening for our children. And this is Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, there's a bracha called Ala Tzadikim. That is the bracha that precedes Yerushalayim. That is the bracha that precedes the coming of Mashiach. This is a list of holy people where we mention HaKadosh Baruch Hu, take care of these people, because these are the people that bring Mashiach. Tzadikim, Chasidim, Zikle Amcha Beis Yisrael, Pleitos Ephraim, Geret Tzedek, Va'aleinu. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, when you say Va'aleinu, think of your children and ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want my children to be amongst this pantheon of tzaddikim and gedolim and great people that are involved in doing holy acts to bring Mashiach, even if that act is nothing more than their own self-control at moments of great nisayon like Yosef HaTzadik. So now, I want to conclude by saying one thing to the parents, the mothers, and one thing to the fathers. My dear mothers, mothers of Klal Yisrael, there's a moment in the week when you have the opportunity to daven for your children that has extreme holiness. And that is when you light candles. I want you to know that last year I was zeicha to take a group of young ladies from a seminary called Darchei Bina to the home of the Heilige Tzaddik Reb Dov Povarsky, the Rosh Yeshiva of Ponevezh, to get a bracha. We came into their living room just when the Rebbetzin was about to light Shabbos candles. She went up to the candles and we just saw her back and we saw her gently shuckling. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. She's sitting there going like this, and then she turns around and you see her eyes are filled with tears. And then she puts on a big smile and starts giving brachas to the young ladies. And I'm thinking to myself, how much Kedusha was in those moments. I personally had the schus to watch my Rebbe, Reb Moshe Peretz Tzadik Zichron Livracha, his Rebbetzin, the Bavel Ben Chaim L'Chaim, his Rebbetzin, I watched her light candles on Friday night. It was a ma'amad of Kedusha she'ein kamo. I felt I was watching dynamite smashing down the mechitzei shel barzel and shemayim to protect her children. That's how ladies should daven at the candles, at those holy moments as they bring in the Shabbos to daven for their children and their grandchildren, that they should be successful. And now a word to the fathers. You come home from shul on Friday night, beautiful minhag to bless your children. Those moments should be super precious and super powerful. Go up to each child before you give them a bracha, think who that child is. I strongly suggest have kavanah with the words v'yishmerecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, protect this child. Think about the unique needs of that child and give that child afterwards a hug and a kiss and a compliment. And those powerful moments is what's going to bring your chinuch hayaladim into your holy home on Shabbos Kodesh. I was once zeichet to see the following thing. I used to learn in the bus in the koil. One day, as I'm walking into the koil, I see a young woman, she's bringing her child to the kindergarten, a little child, drops the child off, and then she stands there by the entrance to the kindergarten. I see her close her eyes and say a short tefillah. And I said to myself, how powerful is this moment? A mother is capturing the moment of sending her little child to kindergarten and saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, protect that child. I'm asking you, as your child goes through his or her day, think about those special moments that the child is going through and daven for your child while they're going through those moments. Your child has a bechina, has an important test. Daven while the child is having that test. You must never, ever stop thinking about your children and what they're going through and daven for them while they are going through their nisyonos, their tests. And I want to conclude with an incredible statement from the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says, and I quote, if you want to have a lot of schusim, this is what you should do. I'm just going to summarize. The Chazon Ish says, in the famous Sefer Maaseh Ish, that if you want schusim for your children, take a child that is struggling and help that child out. The Chazon Ish was talking about your physical ability to teach a child, and I'm telling you that if you do not have that opportunity, you do, because you can take out your wallet and you can say, here we go, I want to help out those people that are helping our children. I cannot think of a more appropriate organization than Lamdeini, that goes out and catches our children before they crash, gives them the skills to be able to flourish in the learning situations so that they can reach their potential. If you support an organization like Lamdeini, you are directly helping your own children and your own grandchildren. And all that's left for me to say is to quote to you from the words of Moshe Feinstein, the Gadol Hador in America that built America after the war. What was his message? And I'm quoting from the Igros Moshe in Yeridea, and here I quote. And he says the following words: Ba'acha kol eila, after every piece of advice that I've given you about chinuch yeladim, tzarech lispalel el Hashem yisbarach. You should always daven to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Sheyatzlichu b'chinucham, you should be matzliach and be mechanech your kids. And if you get your kids right, and Baruch Hashem, you'll have everything that is truly important and truly sweet in our lives. Thank you for listening.